This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today is Wednesday, June 21st, 2017, the summer solstice, and the title of this rant is, Are the Loser's Crimes Worse Than the Cover-Up? So we think a cover-up is going on, but a lot has happened this week to let us know that this investigation in a number of areas is moving forward against Mr. Minority. And the thing is, if this is a cover-up, is the crime even worse? So what we've had going on this week is Robert Mueller, who's heading the Special Counsel, has hired up to a dozen top-notch people to be working with him, dealing with prosecution, dealing with espionage, dealing with Russia, and dealing with flipping people to going from one side to the other to talk against someone above them, so to speak. Both Mike Pence, the Vice President, and Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, have lawyered up. That not necessarily directly related to that, but they've got some things that they need to make sure they're in good graces with. The third thing is that the betrayer of trust has actually lawyered up with at least one lawyer that has some credibility as opposed to some of the hound dogs that he had beforehand. He also hired a guy, or appears to have hired a guy, Jay Sekulow, and the question is he being brought in to be a hound dog also, but also to shore up his base with the Christian community? This week, two U.S. senators, they were both Democrats, they were both previously district attorneys, have clearly indicated that based on the actions of Mike Flynn in the last several months, not only has he lawyered up, but he's talking to the feds and he's singing his tune really, really strong. And the reason why they say this, we haven't heard any word from him, and no one has said anything about him this whole time. Also, the head of the National Security Administration and the Director of National Intelligence, who were reluctant to say anything about some of their discussions with Mr. Minority in a public hearing, testified in private hearing, I believe it was for over 3 hours, late last week, in terms of this, and what did they have to say? It also just became clear that the CIA director, Mike Pompeo, in the first 2 weeks of the administration, was going from CIA headquarters down to meet the betrayer of trust every day, with Mike Flynn sitting there and talking about classified information. At the same time, he knew through Sally Yates and the Justice Department that Mike Flynn was compromised. He will have to account for his actions very, very soon on that. Also, the Senate Intelligence Committee just yesterday was able to strong-arm the Treasury Department because, hey, they're not going to give that information up freely, so to speak. Some financial records information from their Financial Crimes Division, which may be extremely relevant in terms of the president's and his Russia cooperation, investigation, etc. And remember, we know also that just this week a RICO investigation into a company that Mr. Minority did a lot of business with in the early 2000 to 2010, that RICO investigation can move forward. And one of the things that we know about that is that the betrayer of trust companies did basically no due diligence when they were accepting foreign money. And this all has to deal with Russia. It doesn't have to deal with the Russian hacking, the Russian bots, the Russians trying to influence the election, giving money to the WikiLeaks. No, this has to do with Russia. This has to do with Putin. This has to do with their their cybersecurity units. This has to do with the mafia. This has to do with intelligence. This has to do with the oligarchs. This has to do with money laundering. So Mueller has a very strong case that he is pursuing, and he is going to pursue it very thoroughly before anything comes out. But more will be revealed.